This is page 68 from the Initiation into Hermetics PDF download. You can find in the description below in this video. And this is about pore breathing the elements into the body and the organs. And so what you do is you sit in your asana position. I don't like it was with the previous time when you did it with a vital energy. I think it was back in step 3 maybe. You sit there in the same way. Oh yeah, step 3 isn't. You inhale with the lungs and the pores through the whole body. So you sit in the sauna position. Breathe in, think of the element you want. Let's say it's the fire element. Imagine yourself being surrounded by fire everywhere. It's all around you. You're immersed in a world of fire. And with your body and your imagination and your nose, breathe in the element. 7 breaths in. Let's say it's the fire. And don't release it. And now with your imagination, you wanted to guide it through your body down to each part of your body and each organ inside you. So you probably start at your feet. You take 7 breaths in, let's say of the fire element. And with your imagination, imagine it going down to the big toe of your right foot. Let it accumulate there. And he says here, compressing the quality of the element, fill a concerned part of the body. You should feel the compressed element with its quality much stronger in the single part of the body than the whole body. Like steam producing high pressure. And then let it sit there for a bit. And then release it 7 times out through the body. So with your imagination, let's say you put it into your big toe of your right foot. Release it up through the body. 7, 6, 5, 4. Count down to 1. And now, still sitting in the fire element. Now take 7 breaths in again. And now let's say you go to your next toe and accumulate in the body. And as you do, direct with the imagination down into the toe. Let it build up and compress. Become stronger and stronger. Sit there. Don't push yourself if you're uncomfortable, whatever. And so then now you count 7 breaths out and bring it up through the toe, through the body, the imagination, 7 to 1 and 7 breaths down to 1, 0, and release it all. And so you're going to want to go to each part of the body, the toes of the right foot, left foot, the right foot and left foot itself, the calf, either calf of the legs, the thighs, up to your waist area. And then you're going to want to do the organs. And what you're probably going to want to do is get an anatomy chart like this. I got this one off of Google. You just go on and say human anatomy chart. And you'll have the different organs and stuff. And then you're going to want to take the breaths in. And let's say you do your intestines next. So you take the 7 breaths in of like the fire element if you're working on that. And then with imagination, you direct it into here. One thing I found about the organs, the parts of the body, they're pretty easy to do, but if you have any issues with things, it's a little bit kind of touchy. I mean, when I did the organs and I put the elements into it, it kind of stresses me out a bit. So I would usually do the 7 breaths, like the intestines or the stomach. And I wouldn't keep it there that long, and then I would release it. So the organs, I don't know, it's kind of a weird feeling, I can think back. So just don't overstress yourself is what I'm trying to say when you do it. But you're going to want to go through the whole body to do that. And you're going to want to do each of the elements. And I think somewhere he says don't do it more than a half an hour. So probably to do like the whole body with like the fire element, for instance, it's probably going to take you, depending on how long you take the 7 breaths in and exhale them, and like it probably will take at least a half hour to do it. So I'd probably stick with one element for this whole body breathing for this, and stick with it for maybe 2, 3, even 4 days until you feel comfortable and you can go through the whole process of loading the body up. And then you're going to do the water element and the air element and the earth element. And it says here, when you do the fire element, you're going to feel like heat. So you should feel heat inside. The water element would be that of like cold. The air would be like lightness. And the earth would be heavy like gravity. So when you accumulate the elements doing it, breathe them into the body, then direct them to different parts of the body, you're gonna feel these sensations. And so to do this for each element through this process of sitting there, breathing with the whole body, then directing it to each part, accumulate it there, and then breathing out, and then I'm then counting down and releasing it through the whole body back into the universe. It's going to take like a half hour. It's going to take like 3-4 days probably to do each one, because there's no way. I tried it doing like fire and water, like doing these two, and like one day it was too much. It's really hard to do. So I would just stick with one and not push it. And that's the first method, where you breathe in with the whole body and direct it with your imagination. And further withdrawal. Yeah, he's just talking here about returning it from each part of the body, right from the part of the body right back to the universe. But this is the whole body method, so you're going to stick with that one. The second one is where you do that, the second method of the element. So now you're doing it the second way. I mean, a second way of doing it, where you're, instead of breathing with the whole body, let's say you start with your foot, with your toes, and you're doing the fire element. So you sit in the fire element in the sauna position, eyes closed. And now instead of doing the whole body, you're just going to start with like the part you want to breathe in with. Like if it's your big toe of your right foot, just your big toe of your right foot's going to breathe in the fire element. You're going to see it go in there, accumulate, and then hold it, and then release it. And then you're going to go through the whole body again, all the way through the organs again and all that, except for the heart and the brain. He skip that. Do not accumulate any elements in the heart or brain at all. Skip that at all. Just all these other ones. This is kind of a general chart. You can probably get a more detailed one if you really want to go through. But you can see, like, if you think about accumulating it, look at all the different organs you got that he talks about going through. So it's going to take probably a half hour just to do one element. But in this method, this one might be quicker, because you don't have to go through the whole body directly. You're going right to the part you're doing, like the toes of the feet, right and left foot, and the foot. You're just going to breathe in 7 breaths. Imagine your foot or your toe, whatever part you're working on, breathing in the element with your imagination, accumulating it and holding it, and then releasing it 7 breaths back out with a part of the body or the organ you're accumulated in it. And so he specifies here that, you know, you're going to want to use both methods. You got to work on both of them. So just for this right here, I mean, you're probably looking at, this is a big part. Everything that comes from this part on, this is really working with elements, starting to direct it and master it and have the whole body in harmony with it, and being able to accumulate the different powers from the elements in the body. So this year you're probably going to, I would say probably to do the 2 methods with each element, probably a week. You're going to work on it, and, you know, or I would just work on it till I feel comfortable to move on to the next element or the next step. I would do the whole body breathing for each of the elements, directed into the body, using your anatomy chart to see where to direct it, and go through all 4. And then I would go to this method, the second method, where you just breathe in with the individual parts and the individual organs, just doing the breathing in, and the whole body as a whole is just not doing anything. So for this here, I mean, it's weeks. It's probably going to be weeks of doing it. Like I say, this is a huge part. Everything coming up is going to be based on this stuff here. If you made it up to here, that's pretty good. But yeah, I'd say each part, at least 3 days, maybe 2-3 days. You can probably do this method, and then you could go do this method here. But I would do all the elements with this one method first, with the whole body, and direct with imagination. Make it through all. Then I would come up to this, the second method, and work on that. So that's basically it for this.